Hello boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone betwixt. I'm Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. I am the best beard in esports entertainment, as endorsed by LSV and Channel Fireball. That's right, this video and all videos on this channel are brought to you by my Patreon and by Channel Fireball. With all that out of the way though, let's talk about Theros 2 Electric Boogaloo. I hope you've all had a good Christmas and New Year's break, but there are no breaks on this fucking hype train because the Theros spoilers, they're already here. Grey Merchant of Asphodel, also known as Gary, is back. He was the finisher for the Mono Black Devotion deck in his time in Standard. He's been in the EDH kill condition for years by flickering or reanimating or just fucking people up with him. I've got this sweet new art bringing him back to Theros. And that made me think, what other cards would I like to see reprinted? So I started writing on a list of cards I would like to see reprinted and turned into things I kind of want to see return. Not necessarily in their original guise, but I just want to see what's going on with them on Theros. I actually really enjoyed Theros Standard. I played a lot of Esper Control at the time with Sphinx's Rev, Supreme Verdict, and Elspeth as my finisher. So I've got a very soft spot for Theros because when I got really balls deep into Standard. So let's look at some honorable mentions of cards that I would like to see return, but we know won't. Firstly, there's the fetchlands. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Why are you bringing up fucking fetchlands again in Theros? Because, well, they're kind of nondescript. They aren't specific to wherever Onslaught block was set, or Khans of Tarkir, or even Zendikar for that matter. They actually have quite nondescript names that can fit into many planes. The problem is that Wizards pretend that fetchlands are bad for Standard and viewing experiences and gameplay, but then they print Prismatic Vista and Fabled Passage into those formats, so that's kind of bollocks. Personally, I really like fetchlands. The shuffling is a downside, but it's far outweighed by the strategic advantages of having good mana bases, allowing you to fetch up lands and shuffle away things with brainstorm effects like we see on either Brainstorm or that new blue Cavalier that has Brainstorm in Standard, which also does with Fabled Passage. All the way interacts with Tracker, Lotus Cobra, Oracle of Moldiah, all these other cards in Eternal formats and Cube. I think that ultimately they actually bring a lot of interesting gameplay space to Magic. The problem is that people are believing this bollocks line that Wizards of the Coast is feeding everyone that they're bad for the game, but they're not. They're just really fucking expensive because their reprinting has been mismanaged. So for every set there is a caveat, an honorable mention of please just reprint the fucking fetchlands. Put them everywhere. Put them in Commander, put them in Standard, put them everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. I love me a fetchland, but it's an honorable mention because we know that's not going to happen. Namely because A, they won't reprint the fucking things, but B, we also know the temples are already in this set. Just to clarify, I'm filming this New Year's Eve, so this is like smack bang in the middle of spoiler season for some bizarre reason. So some stuff has been spoiled at this point, some stuff hasn't. So if I mention something that gets spoiled in the next day or so, and you're watching this later on after New Year's, well, my bad. Okay, I can't see into the future. Next up is a green commander staple on a card very close to my heart. That it's an honorable mention because it's named specific to another plane, so it can't actually show up here, but they need to reprint it somewhere. Seedborn Muse has been reprinted several times recently because it's nondescript. It can go into commander products and other products. Meanwhile, Oracle of Moldiah continues to dodge the reprints at every given opportunity somehow. It wasn't in commander this year, which makes no fucking sense. There's obviously the green spellbook thing coming up, the signature green. What's the name of that product? I can't even remember. But the problem is it's called Oracle of Moldiah, so it can't really be anywhere other than places that have Moldiah, which is based on Zendikar as far as I understand it. Moldiah. A secret nation of elves on Zendikar. That said, this wiki article has a picture of Savra, who's one of the old Golgari leaders. So this wiki might not be the most. Moving on. My next honorable mention is Courser of Graphics. It is a card originally from All of the Gods, I believe, the second Theros block, and the card is very good. It makes me think Theros. Problem is, green's a bit too fucking good, so do we really need to start giving it Courser of Graphics again, which was one of the better green cards in its heyday? And lastly, another green card, because let's face it, white isn't so hot these days, so I guess I have to stick to my second favourite colour. Polukranos. The problem is he's dead. Elspeth fucking killed him. However, Elspeth did come back, and there is an underworld you can escape from. In an emergency, audible, slammed in number 7, Polukranos. Now, I don't want this to be a reprint, obviously, but I would like to see an undead Hydra, a black-green Polukranos. I mean, he eats the fucking world. He was an absolute boss in Standard at the time with the Devotion mechanic and Nykthos allowing him to gobble up creatures. I love him in Cube. He's just a really cool creature that is, I don't know, it's emblematic of Theros for me. Whenever I see Polukranos or I hear the words Polukranos, or I hear the words Theros, I think of Polukranos. So yeah, I'll put that at number 7. some new Undead Polukranos. Like Elspeth coming out of the underworld, sort of stirred the underworld, and suddenly Polukranos was like, well, Elspeth, you fuck, I'm coming for you. In at number 6, Big Daddy P, Purphoros, God of the Forge. I don't know how well known this is, but I actually have an EDH deck with a Japanese foil, Purphoros at the helm. It's gods and goblins. It's Purphoros and a load of goblins. I love that deck. People kind of hate Purphoros in EDH as being an unfun commander. I like it because it makes the games really fucking short. He looks a bit like Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but wearing like Power Ranger armor. He's just a big fucking cool dude. He was originally part of my standard Dragon Ball Bees deck, where I was courting for him or courting for a Hornet's Nest whilst he was in play to block Polukranos, for example, F&M. I'm making a load of bees and shooting people. I didn't win many games. When I did win, it was a lot of fun. And so Polukranos has always had a soft spot in my heart as my favourite of the pantheon of gods on Theros. Now, I know I've said that they don't have to be literal reprints and more like updates of what these characters are up to, but in the case of Purphoros, I kind of wanted them just to print Purphoros, God of the Forge, with new art perhaps in the new frame, as is. Now, you're going to tell me in the comment section, but Purphoros did get a reprint, Vince! Look, there is a version! Look, Vince, look! And I know, right? I fucking know this. And I like him, he's cool, I guess, but he's not Big Daddy P that I remember. They've changed mechanically what he does. New Purphoros is cool and all, but like old Purphoros was way cooler, way more unique. I mean, prior to Impact Tremors showing up, we had like Warstorm Surge and stuff, but this was rather unique to have on a creature, especially a creature that was sometimes not even a creature, it was kind of an enchantment. It was interesting. The art is great, it's like just a different angle of him looking a bit more angry. It looks like he's absolutely unchanged in physicality, even with the composition of him standing in like the lava erupting from the mountain and such. But my problem is, what's the point of gods if they change like mortals do? I get it when we go back to like Innistrad and Thalia has changed as a person. She's developed and she's acquired new skills, she's grown, she's adapted. That's part of being human or mortal, I get that, but these are gods. Surely gods should be eternal, perhaps unwavering or unchanging. I mean, that's kind of what gods are, right? Maybe someone could tell me in the comment section below about how Greek gods were treated over the years. As far as I understood it, the Greeks just read the same fucking stories for like hundreds and hundreds of years with interpretations of each story, right? Didn't have an ongoing like canon like comic books or anything. So I don't think the gods really changed. So that is why I'm arguing. So that's why I'm arguing that Purphoros could perhaps just be the old Purphoros. Not all the gods have to be the same, but like some of them can be unwavering. I feel like Purphoros would be the one. He is just the one forged on that fucking mountain. But instead, he's now like a sneak attack. Okay. So beyond me just wanting to see the gods being unchanging, or at least some of them being unchanging, the fact that he becomes a sneak attack is just weird. We already had the latest like mythic commander legendary in Ilhag do a similar thing to what this Purphoros is doing here. The whole idea of cheating things into play. Ilhag himself needed to go to combat though, where the new Purphoros doesn't. The new Purphoros has an activated ability. It requires the creatures and or artifacts to be red, which is interesting, so it interacts with like Embercleave, for example, and sacks them at the end of turn so it can play with like Persist and Undying and stuff. So it is unique and it's cool, but it's just weird that the next big legendary mythic red creature we got is again just some sort of like play on Ilhag and sneak attack and through the breach and that sort of part of Red's colour pie. I'm not saying it's overplayed or dull or dumb. I'm just saying that it's weird that it was so close. We had War at the start, we've had a couple of sets since, and then we're back on the big red splashy thing that puts things into play, cheats them into play. And it just feels weird being on Purphoros. Doesn't feel like we've known him before, but I'm okay with it. I'm glad it's coming back. I just kind of wanted to see the old Purphoros, or some sort of version of the old Purphoros, in terms of like mechanics, in terms of let's make a lot of tokens and shoot the shit out of our opponent. That said, I do like the new art composition and the new frame with this like legendary enchantment like top bit looks fucking mwah. So as much as I'm complaining about one of my favourite characters in the Theros mythology not being what I wanted him to be, I mean, that's okay. Sometimes you can be disappointed or just not get what you want. That's right, Star Wars fans. Sometimes you just don't get what you want. The other interesting thing is that it only worked with red creatures and artifacts, which makes Paint the Servant a lot better in Commander. However, Paint the Servant was banned in Commander for a while, but was recently took off the ban list almost inexplicably. It's almost as if the people doing the unbannings might, I don't know, get to know cards ahead of time? I'm just disappointed that the one stable rock in my life changed into a poor man's sneak attack. But what better way to round out 2019 than having my stable rock destroyed by millennials or something? I don't know. I'm just using words that are cool at the moment, you know? Like boomer. Alright, boomer, you fuck. On the topic of gods, let's see more of the dictate cycle. In Journey into Nyx, one of the worst sets in recent memory for being full of shit rares you don't want to open outside of draft, we had a cycle of monocolored flash enchantments, Dictate of the Gods, Heliod, Graphics, Erebos, Karametra, and the red one was really cool because it showed the twin gods, Mogus and Erebos, locked in battle. I want to see them go back and explore this cycle some more with more of the gods and what their dictates would look like. Mainly, I want to see a flash version of Impact Tremors as a rare for the Dictate of Purphoros. I've kind of got an addiction to Impact Tremors, okay? I've got an itch, and the only thing that's gonna fucking scratch it is an Impact Tremor. There's still time, I think, to go back and have a look at these. I mean, what would a Dictate of Athreos look like? What would a Dictate of Pharika look like? Perhaps, as we had monocolored ones before, even for multicolored gods, we can have multicolored dictates for single-colored gods. We can have a red-blue or a red-black, or even a red-white Purphoros. So which gods do you think you'd like to see dictates of, and what do you think they would do? Let me know in the comment section below. It's quite a cool experiment to go back and fill out these cycles, but like referencing other characters and what they would do. Yeah, I want to see more dictates. The way I pronounce dictate makes it sound like dictate. Like either a person like Richard Tate. Hey, Richard! No, the name's Dick. Or like a potato shaped like a dick. A dictate. On the topic of gods, Keranos was my second favourite god from Theros. Kids, I remember this being a sideboard card for Splinter Twin and Modern to give it something to help grind out against Jund and similar decks that basically could deal with an indestructible enchantment that drew you cards and shot them. Again, a straight up reprint from gods may not be super exciting, but look, I believe some of the gods should be unwavering and unchanging. That's kind of what a god is. But, I mean, I've already laboured that point quite heavily. We could have some new kind of Keranos. Or just a new frame, new art version of the old Keranos. But whatever, a new Keranos, a new God of Storms. I'll settle for any kind of God of Storms, really, as long as it's not like a poor man's sneak attack or a poor man's omniscience. Actually, no, fuck it. A Keranos is omniscience too? Huh, I can get behind that. Speaking of gods among men, or cats. Brimaz, King of Oreskos. Brimaz was possibly my favourite card from Theros after perhaps Sun's Champion. I played a small amount of it in Standard, but again, I've played loads of it in Modern and Legacy, Death and Taxes. Once upon a time, before Recruiter of the Guard landed and turned Death and Taxes into this toolbox where you really need to see if your cards can be chewed up by Recruiter of the Guard, you had Brimaz as your big beater, your big army in a can. It carried a sword aggressively and defensively very, very well. It left behind bodies when it was removed. It could be Caracas saved because it was legendary. And Army in the Cans were good at just beating up miracles because then you can just deploy one threat and that one threat can apply enough pressure to force them to have to terminus you. Then you can provide another threat and so on and so on and so on. I think this wouldn't work as a straight reprint. They never reprint legendary creatures like this, even though I've been labouring the point that I think it would work for the gods. And I kind of want them to explore some different space. Brimaz ultimately is a big chunky boy with vigilance that makes 1/1s. I mean, that isn't that unique. But the actual culmination of all of it, it's a 3/4, it was bolt proof, it was legendary, so it could be Caracas, it left the body when attacked and defended, Army in a Can. It just came together to be such a powerful white creature that was quite an exciting and powerful constructed card. The problem is that it saw only minor play in Standard, and yeah, it's not a good commander legendary, so I don't know. I want to see Brimaz again. I want him to be a fucking badass. Do I want him to be some sort of like splashy 4 or 5 mana commander card? Or would I prefer some sort of like efficient 2 or 3 mana card for Legacy? I don't know. Surprise me, Wizards, but don't leave Brimaz off the table. Come on. Don't do my boy dirty. Come on, Wizards. I believe in you. Moving on from gods, I'm going to throw a fucking bone here, right? At number 2, Master of Waves. Look, I didn't give a shit about it in Standard. I spent the whole time Supreme Verditing the fucking thing into Oblivion. And I've also lost my fair share of games to Merfolk decks in Modern with this at the top of the curve. So this card's more of a nemesis card for me than anything else. But I want to throw a bone to all the Merfolk playing fools out there. I mean, Brian needs to be able to play something, right? Like, he is obsessed with fish. Is he a cat? But also, I kind of want to, pump up my devotion, play a Risen Reef, and then play this into the board with Risen Reef and get all the triggers. That Oh, that sounds like value. And above all things, I worship at the altar of value. And at number 1 is a really fucking obvious one. It seems like such an obvious reprint, but let's be real, it's probably the most emblematic card for the set. It's like the linchpin, it's the fucking penultimate. What other words can I use to describe this? The pinnacle, the peak, the... What else did I write down on here? I wrote some words down. Marquee, fucking hallmark. Yeah, it's Nykthos, baby. Woo! You want to make some fucking mana? Let's make some fucking mana. Nykthos is the big shit. Nykthos is the big shit in Pioneer, and it's also pretty good in Modern as well. It's like the Modern era's Gaia's Cradle, except obviously not quite as good, but it does a good impression, and it also isn't as fucking expensive because it's not on the reserve list. Fuck, I hate the reserve list so fucking much. The card is 20 bucks. It's, like I said, the absolute hallmark marquee pillar of the original Theros block. It showcased the key mechanic of devotion, was actually a very good card, and gave rise to some interesting and varied strategies. Every colour had a devotion deck back in standard, well, kinda. We had black, blue, green, and red, and well, if my memory serves me correctly, we did get a green-white devotion deck in the Khans block that always went to time and by F&M, by gaining hundreds and hundreds of life, and never finishing more than one game. Why does white suck so fucking much? We have got Nyx Lotus, which was spoiled by Gary's Palms, which is a cool throwback to Nykthos. It's a middle ground between the actual card Nykthos itself in terms of making mana equal to devotion, crossed with like a Gilded Lotus. And I think it'll probably be quite a good cube card. It'll be a very good EDH card. And it's quite a fair approximation of the power level of the original Nykthos. And perhaps it's a little bit weird or crazy of me to think, just reprint Nykthos, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, this number 1 slot could also be, well, Elspeth, I guess, but I didn't put Elspeth into this list. She's more of an honorable mention. We knew she was coming back. Okay, these are cards that aren't certainly coming back, just that I would like to see. So, barring Elspeth, Nykthos is like one of the cards that makes me think of Theros. Elspeth, Purphoros, Cursor of Graphics, Polukranos, and Nykthos. And then I guess tangentially there's like Thoughtseize. I mean, Thoughtseize is part of that block. It was printed in Theros. I really like that art, actually. Not as good as the original art, obviously, but I think that art gets a bad rep for not being all fairy and mysterious. So Theros does make me think of Thoughtseize now, but it's not really, like, part of that world, right? I don't want to see what the dude getting his hands deleted in the Thoughtseize art is up to now. So this slot could have been Elspeth. It could also be, in terms of just expensive lands, we've got Mana Confluence was in the 3rd set of the original Theros block, but let's be honest, Mana Confluence can be in any set. That is not a plain specific name, and showcased by the fact that they got an expedition, right? But it is a $25 rare land that's quite powerful. So I didn't put that in this list, but I wouldn't mind if it was reprinted. It could be another honourable mention of throwing in there at the end. But Nykthos is Theros, right? Well, it is actually a physical location on Theros, but it is basically Theros. It's one of the most iconic cards from the set. I think I used the word iconic when saying my words to describe how important this was. Weird. It's more iconic than a flat peak cap on a character in an Ubisoft game. So yeah, I kind of wish they were reprinting Nykthos. But now we got this Nyx Lotus. I also think the number crunch rules it out. So we're not going to say Nykthos here. We do need a reprint though. It is like 20+ bucks. And it is big in Pioneer. Although it might get banned eventually, I guess. So perhaps we need to see this in the next. And that's the cool thing too, is we get more Commander products on each set. I guess if we had some Commander decks coming out alongside Theros, this could be one of the much needed reprints in that set. Heaven knows we just need to manage their reprints a little bit better. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet, rambling about the cards that I liked from the original Theros block and where I want to see them now. And what Brimaz is doing. Did he go to university in the end? Did he pursue that career in cat banking? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below what cards or characters you want to see reprinted or given an updated iteration. What do you think about my theory that some of the gods could have been reprinted like verbatim of what they originally were? Let me know if you think Nykthos is just too good for current standard. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. There'll be more gameplay coming soon. More of me shouting at the camera about dicks shaped like potatoes. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll catch you all soon. Ta-ta for now.